is an artist from Atlanta, Georgia. She's best known for photographs of children and animals that capture the enchantment and power of the natural world. She was a critical mass top 50 finalist, not 1 year, but at least 2 years, maybe more, in 2013 and 14. She's had solo exhibitions at the Center for Visual and Performing Arts in Noonan, Georgia, the Lamar Dodd Art Center in Georgia, in Columbus, Georgia. She exhibited nationally and internationally. You're going to hear about their stunning show at Henry Fox Talbot's home, the Talbot Museum in Chippenham, Lacock Abbey. Wow. That's how I learned about this talented group. I saw their show online and it just blew my mind, and we're so honored to have your work make us look good at CPA. Anyway, I could go on and on about each of these people, but she's had books published by Northlight Press, 21st editions in 2017. Her work was featured in National Geographic Proof, the Flannery O'Connor Review, maybe we'll hear more about that, and the Huffington Post, Lens Culture, and many others, and Anne lives in Noonan, Georgia. Heidi Kirkpatrick is a fine art photographer and educator based in Portland, Oregon, and Heidi's on the end there. She has exhibited widely, and her work is held in numerous private and public collections, including the Fox Talbot Museum, the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, unbelievable, the Harry Ransom Center in Austin, Texas. Who else has an artwork there? It's an old one. It's like the oldest one.
Oh, it's Pencil for Nature.
Is that Niepce dude? Her work is...
Oh, Anna Atkins.
I'm thinking of Niceferi Niepce, like the world's first drinking photograph is there in a nitrogen case.
It's right next to Heidi.
Yeah, you have to scoot over towards her. Yeah, that Harry Ransom Center has Niepce's. It has the world's first photograph, 1826, on that metal plate. On and on and on. She was selected for the Photo Lucida Critical Mass Top 50, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. Starting to get on our nerves, Heidi. And won a solo show award at the Center for Fine Art Photography in Fort Collins, Colorado. And Heidi is an executive board member of the Portland Art Museum's Photography Council. Thank you, Heidi, for being here. And Emma Powell and her mom are collaborators. It's a beautiful collaboration. You'll see her work. She's going to tell us about it, about her process. Really mixing different centuries together, technically. She's an assistant professor of art at Colorado College. She earned her MFA in photography at RIT, the Rochester Institute of Technology, in 2010. Her work has been exhibited widely in the United States and abroad. Her photographs are in many private and public collections, including the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, Colorado Photographic Art Center in Denver, and the George Eastman House Study Center. Unreal. Kirsten and her mom, Kirsten Hoving, this is Emma, but her mom is Kirsten, who is not here today, but you got good genes. Her mom is the Charles A. Dana Professor of Art History at Middlebury College. She earned her PhD from Columbia University in 1985. And her mom is an internationally recognized expert on the art of Joseph Cornell, and the author of Joseph Cornell and Astronomy, A Case for the Stars, Princeton, 2009. Her photographs, her mom's photographs have been shown widely in the United States and featured nationally, internationally. Thank you for being here, Emma. And you went to school. Tell us where you got your, you got your MFA at RIT, but you went to...
I went to the College of Worcester in Ohio for undergrad.
Who in this audience also went to Worcester? You got a kindred spirit. Susan Kingsley wants to talk with you about that. And she was at Penman last summer, and she might come out and hang out with you when you teach there. Well, last but not the, I know, I made it up. You know what? I just have to tell you that I wanted to kick off a new year with the work of Tribe, and so I called the right woman. I called a woman who has an international reputation for integrity, professionalism, and talent. If you wonder about talent, wait till you see her work in the gallery. And that woman gave me Lori's name. You'd have done it to me. Believe you me, I could continue talking about her integrity and her professionalism. She's the curator. She rounded up 7 other incredibly talented women and curated the show, got all the work here. But I'll tell you what, I won't even, don't even take my word for it, how amazing she is. Why don't you take Aline Smithson's word for it, who writes for Lens Scratch, which is, well, I think they and Lens Culture are the Amazon of photography blogs. Aline Smithson, who's been one of our favorite workshop teachers here, wrote about this woman earlier, and the rest of the tribe. But Aline said, and I quote, she started the article, "The indefatigable photographer, curator, festival organizer, and all-around Wonder Woman." How do you spell that? Vrba. Lori Vrba.
It's missing a vowel.
I know how to spell her name. So, to continue, without my lame humor, Lori recently created an exhibition called Tribe for the Fox Talbot Museum at Lacock Abbey earlier this year, in 2018, because she was invited by the director at Lacock Abbey, because England is celebrating this year this is the centenary of women's suffrage in the United Kingdom, and the National Trust is celebrating it with a series of programs under the overall banner Women of Power. So the Talbot Museum in Lacock Abbey called Lori, and she organized the tribe, got the tribe together. It's unbelievable. That show, which is very similar to the one we have, showcases a range of photographic processes by 8 American women with a true reverence for the photograph as object, and the notion that photography allows us to connect the feminine self with the human self. Tribe is an exhibition of works inspired by the romantic notion of storytelling, and it features the work of Kirsten Hoving, Heather Evans Smith, who's not here, so you haven't heard her name so far, Lori Vrba, Emma Powell, Ann Berry, KK DePaul, who couldn't be here, but you'll see her beautiful work upstairs, Heidi Kirkpatrick, and Tama Hochbaum. So I'm going to knock it off and get out of the way. Please join me in welcoming these amazing women.
Thank you all for being here. You guys are an amazing community, obviously, yourselves. What a great crowd. And so we just really want this to be an informal conversation about how and why Tribe matters, and not just as an exhibition, but more so really the idea of tribe and artists being connected and lifting and supporting one another. So that's really what we're going to speak to, and it's a huge privilege for us to have the opportunity to share the work and talk about the work, but we can do that upstairs while we're standing in the exhibition. So I hope that's okay with you guys. I do want to say, Brian, our newest member of Tribe, and the hazing continues. It will continue until we leave, so he doesn't know what's coming, but he's been an incredible, tolerant, patient, supportive human being to work with in putting this together, and it's actually been one of my favorite experiences, so thank you, Brian. It's really been, it's
Only because you're you, and Ann's Ann, and Emma's Emma, and Heidi's Heidi, that's for sure.
I do want to start, if it's okay. I'm going to read our statement for the show, and then I'll speak to it further. But quickly, I just want to read this, because this was an important part of us building the show. We are earnest American women of photography, walking in the footsteps of the greats who have come before us. Dorothea Lange, Imogene Cunningham, Bernice Abbott, Diane Arbus, Mary Ellen Mark, Margaret Burke White, and Sally Mann. We honor the path you have paved and feel called to excellence because of your life's work. We as women have shared our lives intimately throughout history in the cycle of nourishment. We have instinctively supported the greater good as mothers and daughters and sisters in childbearing and caregiving. We nurse the world together. We are tribe. Our work is feminine without apology. We are drawn to that romantic notion of storytelling, memory, nostalgia, the natural world, and family. As artists, we come together within our medium for inspiration, collaboration, postulation, and celebration. This connection provides a deep well of power that we as makers are strengthened and sustained by. It is our commitment to tribe that not only elevates the work itself, but keeps us moving to the lunar rhythms of a passionate and sensitive creative life. Brian, can you get
Sure.
these lights off and then we can get the film?
You got
Oh,
it.
perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm going to, it's a really short film, just like 4 minutes, but I want to give you a sense of how tribe kind of came into a real awareness for me and all of us, and then led to the exhibition. was looking at this next thing, that 99% of those clips were shot by a very important member of our tribe, Addison Brown, who is a crazy, talented, beautiful human being, and he wishes he lived here too. So I want to say a little bit about how this came about, the exhibition itself, and that is that I was sitting in my pajamas January 2017, and I got a message from Roger Watson, who is the curator for the Fox Talbot Museum, and it was, and he asked if he could have my phone number, which is, I said yes, and then he called right away, and he started to tell me about the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in the UK, and that it was going to be the year of the woman, and that he knew he wanted to exhibit women's photography for the year, and I thought this was fascinating. He said he saw a really different sensibility between American women shooters and European female shooters, and so he wanted to do 2 shows. They would both run about 6 months, and the first would be American photographers, and he said, you know, I've been following your work for a while, and I also see that you hang out with some pretty interesting artists, and he's seen that on social media. So I do want to say quickly that if you discount the value of social media, move on past that, because crazy, beautiful things can happen from it. But and so while he was saying this, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, is he going to ask me to have a piece in the show? And I was holding my breath, hoping that that was maybe what he was going to ask me, and shocked that that could be happening. And then he said, so that's all happening, but I'm a dude. These are his exact words. But I'm a dude. I want you to curate the show. And I literally was kind of like looking to think, am I on candid camera? Is there, and you know, I've had, you know, we've all been together through this process, and some have said, you know, it's a dream come true. But for me, what I have felt like is I would have never dreamed something so big for myself. And so it has been an amazing opportunity. But also, and I was stunned for actually several days and didn't really do anything for a while, because I kept thinking I'll wake up from this and it's going to be a really funny dream to share. But as I started to wrap my head around it and figure out what I was going to do with it, think of all the paths I could take. You know, do you pick the greatest American photographers living, and I am curating that show? That would be amazing. But I can think of 40 amazing artists, female, American, that I know that maybe haven't had those opportunities. And I actually didn't tell anyone that this was even on my plate, very few people, because I was so nervous about being criticized about my choice, but also hurting people that wouldn't be asked. And so it felt like daunting. And I called a friend of mine, Dennis Keel, who is a wonderful, his life has been dedicated to curating photography, and he's a great counsel, wonderful human being, and he said, yes, you will be criticized. So trust that Roger asked you, trust yourself, and then make it as personal as you can make it, because then you will have at least made a meaningful show, and it will also add some depth and a layer to the show that will matter. And that's when I knew I was going to go with Tribe. And Tribe has become meaningful to me I think it's been a real focus because Ann and I started a retreat a few years ago, and at least twice a year we take groups to the barrier islands off the coast of Georgia, and our focus is absolutely connection and community, and that really sustaining you as an artist. And so I want to give Anne a minute to maybe speak to that and open it up a little
I'm
bit.
going to start by reading this.
I think
This quote that sort of sums up. It really it sounds like we always go around the table at our retreat and everyone tells us why they're there and what they hope to get out of it. And this seems like a lot of the comments, it's a quote but from someone else, but it seems like a lot of the comments that we get from. Find people who can handle your darkest truths, who don't change the subject when you share your pain or try to make you feel bad for feeling bad. Find people who understand we all struggle, some of us more than others, and that there's no weakness in admitting it. Find people who want to be real, however that looks and feels, and who want you to be real too. Find people who get that life is hard and who get that life is also beautiful, and who aren't afraid to honor both of these realities. Find people who help you feel more at home in your heart, mind, and body, and who take joy in your joy. Find people who love you for real and who accept you for real, just as you are. They're out there, these people. Your tribe is waiting for you. Don't stop searching until you find them. And that sort of sums up why we started doing these retreats. And photography is unique in that we have this portfolio reviews, and the other arts don't have it. My brother's a sculptor, and before I did photography, I painted, and they don't have the community. And maybe it's also that photographers are willing to spend the money or to take the time and the money of their resources to go to these things, and a lot of what you get out of it is meeting the people. So Lori and I met in 2010 in Ireland on a trip. And since then, we've traveled together and exhibited together and helped each other out. And we started doing these retreats to build that, what you get in a portfolio review over the course of a couple of days, but in more intense. And it's not a workshop, we're not teaching anything, we're learning as much as we're teaching. And everyone's learning from each other and learning to set an intention, and that's helping us renew that intention. We get all involved in doing other things, like maybe putting on an exhibition or family things, and this is like these barrier islands are wilderness islands, nobody else is there, and we just, it's kind of back to nature and also back to just the connections that we've built on these retreats. We have been, has been lasting, and we've exhibited together and keep up with each other, and people come to multiple, keep coming back, or if they can't keep coming back, we still have a real bond with those people.
And I think too that the word tribe became part of my mindset, because with each retreat, the tribe names itself, and it is our focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing that twice a year, no matter what else is going on in my life, and there's always plenty, to go and be in the wilderness and just focus on the concept of, connecting to other human beings who love what I love and who are struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with. And I am required to go deep into that mindset at least twice a year, and that really is sustaining for me the rest of the time. So that's why tribe has just become like a major part of my being. And then do you mind sharing? I think so. Emma and her mom Kirsten they came to a retreat, and I had met your mom several years ago, but this was the first time I met you, and then I knew Emma's work individually and your mother's work individually, but then I'd seen the project that we've got in this exhibition that you had collaborated on, and it knocked blew my skirt up. I love that saying. Blew my skirt up, and then to watch you guys work together was fascinating. And so will you speak a little bit to that collaboration and what that's meant to you? Because that's actually, connecting to your own mother, which I think is fascinating.
Sure.
And also just you teach and you have community in that way as well.
Yeah, so my mother, Kirsten Hoving, teaches history of photography, or taught, she just retired. Like I said at the beginning, she wrote a book on Joseph Cornell, and she has studied a lot of the history of photography and art in general. She has taught for many years. And actually my father's a photographer too, so it's the family business in a ridiculous way. But when I got to the College of Worcester in Ohio, I discovered alternative processes, so that's when I really started finding my own voice in photography. Then I went to RIT for grad school, and while I was in grad school, my mother was sort of there, not literally, but I would share the work that I was working on with her, and we would discuss different ways that I could get into juried shows and that whole process. And so at that stage, she decided to open a photoplace gallery in Vermont, and got very involved in the photography world and started shooting her own work. So she started developing her own projects. My parents were divorced at that point, so there wasn't any sort of issue with her making her own photography. And so throughout the series that I did mostly just after grad school, and actually in undergrad, I often use myself as the character, as a figure within the work. And so whenever traveling with my mother, she would often be the one helping me take the pictures, because she was interested in photography and making her own work at the time. And so we'd been through several different projects where she had either visited me, I was living in Iowa at the time, or we traveled all over. And we were at a workshop at Anderson Ranch, which was run by the Park Harrisons, who were influences for mine and my mother as well. And so there are a couple of photographers who work together on a very collaborative series. And so we were really inspired by their way of working together. And so at that point, we decided that we wanted to do a truly collaborative series. And so we developed Svala's Saga, some of which is in the exhibition. And so we went into this project, we sort of embraced it in a way, we wanted it to, how am I going to say this? We wanted to make sure that we sort of had an idea of what it was going into it. So often the work that I've done in the past has really evolved. And this one, we had an idea going into it. We sort of knew it was something that neither of us could do on our own, that it was something that we really needed to both be there and both be fully engaged with it to make the work. And since we were both, at that point, we both made several different projects on our own, we wanted to see how we could each bring our own artistic influences and our own artistic point of view to the work, make something new that was going to push both of us. I actually TA'd a workshop that my mother took by Sig Harvey, who said, "Be brave." That was sort of her mantra to her students, was always be brave. And so we repeated that over and over. If there was a situation where we weren't sure if we should do it, it was always be brave. And so the goal was also to really push ourselves, both physically and climbing glaciers and things, but also in terms of the work, and try to find something new out of that collaboration. In terms of our relationship, we developed kind of a shorthand where she would tell me to lift my head or move something over, because throughout the series I'm the character, I'm the figure, and she was behind the camera. And then since we shot the images, we live states apart, and so we talk over the phone, and it's been a way for us to reconnect and have sort of an adult relationship rather than a mother-daughter relationship. That's still there, but it gave us an opportunity to kind of develop a new
You were
way of
working as
communicating.
peers and
Yeah,
collaborators,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been really great in terms of being able to have something to talk about and to a way of communicating that's different from what we had before.
And Heidi, do you want to speak to your life? And because you've got community in all sorts of ways as well.
And this is all about community. I mean, that's a beautiful part about it. We're really here to prop each other up, and it's a lot of fun. We'll tell you that. It's some of that can be very self-serving, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. Getting together and doing what we love with some like-minded people. And so we all live separate, but we are very connected. But in my own community, I taught high school black and white darkroom for 12 years and started building a community that way with my connection with the kids. I'm not a parent, and it was very interesting, exhausting, beautiful tribe that I built or connected to, and I'm still connected to them. I retired 2 years ago. I did just sub. I said when the old photography teacher leaves and the young one comes in, she gets pregnant, so I just subbed for her being on maternity leave, which was an interesting experience, but it brought my memory back just like that, why I retired. One of the reasons. Also, I'm involved with the community, with the art museum. I'm on the photo council, and our mission is to raise funds to buy acquisitions for the permanent collection. And we are working photographers who get together and we build community and have events that have programming. We have events that have no programming. It's just us simply getting together and propping each other up and having a good time. And I think it's really important to have different avenues to be involved, to feed who you really are and what's important to you.
And the medium.
And
Because
the
you
medium.
are. You are.
Yes.
Acquisitions committee, like that's, right.
Yes, it's important. And a lot of people think that museums have tons of money, and there are some that do. Our curator is funded, thankfully, but there's not one dime in the budget for acquisitions. So that is what our job is. And I never knew that, so it's been a really wonderful learning experience too. So I just think it's important to give back, to accept, to wonder, to question, to cry, to drop to your knees, to look to the skies, whatever it is. I think it's really important to do it together.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that was a real shift for me, it's happened gradually over time, but it was a real decision, and it was maybe 3 years ago. I had thought a lot about, because I'm self-taught, as soon as I started making the work seriously, I started to leave my little hole under the house where I, made work like a little elf in the dark. I would go out in the world to be with people who also made work because I wanted to see what they were making, and I wanted to learn from them and see if what I was making was enough or good or right. And so it was really about learning, but what I found was that I would come home better for it, for sure, and I kept doing that over and over and over again. And at some point I recognized everything I had taken from the people who had facilitated those opportunities. And I started to think, well, what would it feel like to facilitate that for other people? And that's when I started working on the Click Photography Festival, which is in my state. And then we started the retreat, which Ann and I do together, but everyone who comes, we all do it together. And then Tama, who's also part of the show, Tama Hochbaum, serves and volunteers all year long to run exhibitions through a place called Horace Williams House, which is in my community, and I started to serve on that board to facilitate that, and that's been really remarkable when you find ways to foster and promote community and tribe and not just take from those doing it. So I think that's also been really valuable and an important thing to look at as an artist. And another thing I want to say is, and I think this has maybe been one of the great things I've come to realize in the last couple of years, and it was a big surprise to me. I think anyone here who is a working artist understands that at some point, for me, I started making my focused work and came to realize that this was something I'd maybe been looking for, or waiting for forever. It was like being underwater and for a long time and finally coming up for some huge, gulp of breath when you start really making work and recognizing the fact that it is the thing that kind of saves you and it's sustaining and it's, critical to your well-being. Maybe we all know that feeling. What I came to understand after really connecting to so many people and developing, lifelong, profound relationships, that has become just as important as making the work, and maybe even more so. So I think that is the message of what we really wanted to share in this panel discussion is, and one of our tribe, Sal Taylor Kidd, who has now been to the retreat 3 times, but she's in my life every day in some way, shape, or form. She's the one that sent me this a few months ago, but the first one, she sent me several things, but she said, she's the one that sent me the quote, "Find your tribe and love them hard." That knocked my socks off. She also sent this poem. She's a poet as well, and an amazing photographer, but a poet. And she was just with us on the last retreat, and she sent this that she wrote to me, I think in December. Let me see if I can read it without crying. "I saw today that you had made something beautiful, and I knew what it had cost you, that beauty. Too much almost for one person to contain. It was only yesterday that we wrote of the dreary now of waiting for the spark to break the heavy spell. I'm trying to see the road to there from here," I said. "Let's leave now," you replied. "We're better there." So, I think we just want to leave with some inspiration for, if you have not found that connection as an artist, I think to work hard to find that and be vulnerable in that place. And it's not just about shooting together or having fun together or talking about where you're struggling, but I think, there's something really important about this time in the world of fine art photography, in that I think, you know, there's an opportunity here for us to actually shape what's happening, and there's a lot of that going on with my tribe, in that not only do we shoot and play and inspire each other, but we look for ways for big thinking, where we look for ways to promote one another, artists curating artists, passing the torch when you have that opportunity for someone else to have that role, looking for ways to sell our work and sell each other's work, and us shape even the business of photography. Maybe that gallery model that's been the tradition, and something that I've certainly chased and had success and failures in, reshaping that, and you know, we can be the paradigm shift. And I've participated in a lot of that with Tribe over the last several years, and that's also been really valuable and interesting and pretty exciting. So I want to open it up to the room and just see if there's something that we haven't talked about that you're interested in, or if you have thoughts or comments or questions.
I am curious about the retreat. How did you put that together, and what gave you the idea to do it, and how do you get people to come? How long is that? I'm just really interested in that.
And repeat that if you will.
So the question is, how did the retreat really come about, and how do we put it together, and how do we get people to come? And do you want to speak to that, Ann?
I live in Georgia, and I had met Lori, well, I told you I met Lori in 2010, and I had got a little group to go visit these barrier islands off the coast of Georgia that are.
You can read my emails if. Close the lid. I might have said something about these people here. Nanny, think nothing of them. Okay.
Well, we started going to Ossabaw Island, and it's difficult to plan to get there. You have to take everything. You get your own boat, take everything. And so we had a little group that was kind of a little, we called it a photography collective, and it ended up pretty much dwindling. It was 5 people to be in, me and Lori. And so we, one time we were there, and we just put together this idea of making it a retreat, so that it was more of a formal thing that people committed to going to. And we talked to the kind of our person that helps us when we're there, our caretaker, and he gave, you know, we just, and logistically, you know, we have to feed all those people, and there's a lot of.
I want to say too, but the retreat, you're going to undersell yourself here, because people have asked me since you and I had gone to this barrier island several times, and we had made pictures there, and when we started putting it out there, people would say, well, how do you get there? And my answer always was, and it still is, well, you have to know Ann Berry, because she knows the guy's phone number that has a boat that will take you there. She knows who to, so there was, you really, none of it would have happened without you. But, so she really shaped it, but then she and I spent a lot of time talking about what our intention was behind the retreat, which was, you might make a good picture while you're there, and we'd be happy for you, and we hope we make good pictures too, but actually our intention is that you leave with a real sense of what Tribe is, and that you're connected in a way that matters to you and that is lasting. And we say that at the welcome lunch every time.
And it's very small, so that's one reason as far as how does it happen and how do we get people. When Ossabaw, just the size of the place and the logistics of getting a boat to take everybody, we could only take 6 people. And we just started also going to Cumberland Island, which is a national wilderness. And the house is a little bigger, and we could take 8 people. But we don't want it to get any bigger than that, just because the bonding and the ability to get on the back of one truck and,
Is it the same people?
No.
no. We pretty much have people email us and ask us, and that we may put together that list. But sometimes, I think was it our second or third when we opened it up to alumni first, and it filled up with that. So, it's pretty much a kind of some of the people are the same, and then, people. So we start out.
Even curate, like, we try to build people, we kind of have a questionnaire, and we try and put together people that we think will work well together, so we're.
And that they understand that it's not, that you're gonna be maybe doing some walking and,
It's not
around,
glamorous.
riding in the back of a pickup truck, sharing a bathroom and a bedroom, and whether, one time, you have to come over on a boat, and it was windy like it is here today, and the people just came over soaking wet.
I wonder if you could speak to the exhibit and what you have exhibited and how you produced it.
Sure, so I definitely started from the place that I wanted it to be about women that I felt connected, that are part of everything we're talking about here, and tribe. But then to even hone it further, that it's American women, and that we all actually make our work from a similar place and similar mindset and intention. And I think, and I looked at a lot of female artists, and I think everyone in the exhibition has a romantic sense of from the work, and also a sense of nostalgia, and storytelling, for sure, a connection to nature. So I wanted there to be a thread there that definitely was connected. And then also, each artist, is really strong in their own right. There was no one that I knew each artist actually, was very accomplished, and that the work was, fully realized. And y'all can speak to the show as well. I don't want to be the only one talking about it, and I'm just speaking from a curatorial perspective, but I want y'all to speak to it too.
There definitely is a common thread throughout the work. I mean, one, obviously, we're all women, and within my own work, I feel like I have different bodies of work that look different, but I feel that they're all connected. There is definitely a common thread with each body that kind of jumps from one to the other. And I feel the same way with this show, that the work is very distinctive from each other, but I do feel that it's all connected. And it's kind of all really comes from the gut. It's real. Right. They're real stories that have happened to real people that and we're living it and trying to tell our story.
Yeah. Well, and I think these artists do, and I think that's one of the things that I'm drawn to about each of them, for sure. Yes?
I think it's rather lovely that you were invited to put together this show for the Fox Talbot location.
Me too.
And it's so interesting that you were seen as kind of characterizing American women's photography, and I wondered if the British or the European show has occurred yet, and if you've had an opportunity to see it, and if you had any thoughts on how it might reflect similar or different perspectives.
That's a great question. We should call Roger Watson right now.
Let's go there.
For the I know. Oh no, we should. Oh no, I know. No, I don't know. Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, I think it's so odd Because I think I got so wrapped up in my own fear and, commitment to trying to do it. I don't think I've ever asked him what he saw that was remarkably different about American female shooters and European female shooters, which now that I'm maybe slowing down a little, I'm going to. But I thought that was a fascinating point, and somehow I've never asked him that, but I thought that was really
Well,
interesting.
and here's a follow-up question. Isn't it next year that is the centennial of the American women's right to vote?
I think it is.
So, plans for the future.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna ask, was there an individual curator like yourself for the British side of the show?
I don't know what's happened since then,
Okay.
but it's kind of been a really whirlwind year and kind of crazy, but those are all great questions, and I am sorry to fail you in my, I have no answer.
Well, that means there could be a show of the both together somewhere else.
Wouldn't that be
At
interesting?
another venue.
Well, Roger Watson was really a wonderful person to work with, and he is so proud that it's here. He knows, and he's thrilled, and has just been sending messages saying, oh my God, I wish I was there, and just really blown away. So, he's honored that it's here as well, yeah.
For God's sakes, Lori, your wine glass,
I know.
I don't know how you continue.
Well, I'm a professional. Can I quickly read
Sure.
one last thing, just because Ted Orlon is in the house, which is a huge honor for us, and this is in my short notes, not knowing you would be here, but we read this actually at the retreat without Mr. Orlon's permission, but we do at our welcome lunch, because we love it. A community of artists provides a space where it is trusted and accepted that you are trying to make art that matters. That trust and acceptance holds true even when, and perhaps especially when, you are not making art that matters. You may not at the moment be making good violins, but we all understand what you are trying to do, and because we treasure good violins, we support your efforts through good times and bad. Your goals are not crazy or strange or unrealistic or even unusual to us. Your goals are our goals. That's what it means to be part of a community. Ted Orlon, The View from the